Namaste, Green Wave. It's Miss Amy. And today we are going to practice self-care by creating our own spa at home. So there's a variety of ways that, you can create a spa experience. But what I'm using today are the mask packets that I found at Trader Joe's and at TJ Maxx and Marshall's. So this is a face mask. And again, reading the directions or reading the ingredients, this soothes and revitalizes dull and tired skin with chamomile extract, honey, hyaluronic acid, camellia oil, rosehip oil, green tea extract, turmeric extract, blue algae extract, and propolis extract. So this is a 100% cotton sheet mask with a natural cucumber fragrance. And then we're going to follow the directions on how to use that. We also have a feet mask, a foot mask, that this helps to nourish our skin. So this is a natural detoxifier. This improves blood circulation and eases tired feet. So it says one size fits all. And then we have a moisturizing hand mask, which is made with sunflower seed and tea tree oil, shea butter, and aloe vera extract. This is nourishing and hydrating hand treatment gloves. So these are basically like plastic gloves and socks, and inside they're filled with these oils and lotion. So of course, if you didn't buy your own at the store, you could fill a Ziploc bag with your favorite lotion or essential oils, or fill it with the Himalayan salt and some coconut oil, or the coconut sugar and the coconut oil to make your own hand and feet masks. Doing that way with the facial masks might be harder. The Ziploc bags are more for your hands and your feet. But if you didn't have a face mask to nourish your face, cucumbers are a natural vegetable to hydrate and nourish our skin. So you can cut up a cucumber and place them on your eyes as you relax. And the more cucumbers that you have, you could rest on your face. If you had water and you soak the cucumbers in overnight, you could also add in any citrus fruit that also helps to nourish our skin. So oranges, lemons, limes, grapefruits to cut up. And then you could soak a towel or a paper towel in the water of the vegetables and fruit to also hydrate and nourish your skin as to create your own face mask. Or sometimes you can also find these wipes. I found these at Trader Joe's. They're cucumber and citrus face and body wipes. So they're hypoallergenic, hydrates, and soothes. So always read the labels to make sure you're not allergic to anything. But what I like about these are they have such a nice smell to it. Again, I wish we could smell over Zoom, but this smells like a cucumber and a mix of lemon and oranges. So before I put any of these masks on my body, I'm going to clean down my face with the wipe. So you can always, use the wipe first on your face. Again, it clears off dirt and sweat, and again helps to clean our skin, to hydrate just from wearing a mask. You might find yourself breaking out, or maybe you find your skin dry. So it's a great way to nourish and hydrate our skin. And then after I'm done wiping down my face with the cucumber and citrus wipes, I'm also gonna rub down my hands, the top part of my hands. And I'm also going to clean down my feet. So, and again, you can do this with your own wipes or any kind of wipe that you have to clean down your feet, or a washcloth. And again, this is also a little bit of toga yoga for our toes, so that our feet are cleaned down and ready for our hand and feet and face treatments. So to make it feel like a spa, we're going to add in our diffuser. So a diffuser is a machine that sends off the scents of essential oils. So they come in all different shapes and sizes. This one happens to look like a lamp. So I'm going to add the smells of eucalyptus. So there's two different types of eucalyptus. I'm going to use Eucalyptus radiata and Eucalyptus globulus. So 2 different kinds of eucalyptus essential oils. Eucalyptus kind of reminds me of if cucumber was an essential oil. It has that fresh and rejuvenating smell. So I'm going to teach you how to use a diffuser. So then while you're relaxing in your at-home self-care spa, it will have some really lovely calming and cooling scents, because especially in the summertime, we want to cool down that heat. So even the heat in our mind, when we're able to cool it down, we're able to be more focused, we're able to have more clarity. So it's really important to practice self-care all year round, not just in the summertime, but this is a practice that you can do at any time just by breathing and relaxing. And I'm going to share with you some restorative yoga poses that you can also do in case you don't have these types of masks, or again, maybe you just practice self-care with the relaxation restorative poses. And while we relax today, we're also going to listen to a guided meditation, which I will also share this link in our Google Classroom. It's from Insight Timer. So while you see me relax, you're welcome to create your own relaxation spa with me and listen to the guided meditation, as these masks need to be on our body for about 30 minutes to really allow it to nourish and hydrate our skin. So while this sets, we're going to listen to a guided meditation that will also help us to really relax, which tunes us into the parasympathetic nervous system of rest and digest. So to create our diffuser, so it's the room will smell like eucalyptus, I have to take the lid off, and then I have to take another lid off. And then using water, I use water first. I'm going to pour the water up to the line. It's hard to see because I don't want to spill, but there is a line in each diffuser, so you know not to fill it higher than the line. And then I'm going to add a few drops of each essential oil. So sometimes they come out fast, sometimes they come out slow. So these are 2 different types of eucalyptus. 1, 2, 3. One more. Sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's slow. 4. Oh, we had 5. 5 drops of the first oil, and then we'll add 5 drops of the second oil, so it's balanced and even. So this one we're gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So as you can see, that this oil came out faster than the other. And then once your oils are in, you can, add a bunch of different smells. Today, I'm just going to use eucalyptus. Then I'm going to put the lid back on. This is already plugged in. And then I'm going to turn on the button, and you'll start to see the steam come up. And again, this is going to create a relaxation scent around the room. So again, you can find diffusers at many local stores. They come in all different shapes and sizes, along with the smell. So other relaxing smells other than eucalyptus, it could be lavender, it could be cedar wood, it could be grapefruit or orange. Really, just like our taste buds, we all have different scents with our noses. So you want to choose a smell that's going to be relaxing for you. So we have our diffuser going. Some shapes that you can relax in. I'm going to share my screen so you will see some choices for some restorative yoga poses. So restorative yoga uses the different props for ultimate relaxation. So by using a blanket, by using a bolster, by using blocks or an eye pillow. So what you can do, you can either rest in child's pose, legs up the wall, or Shavasana. And in these pictures, one picture I show you the pose without any props. So the picture here, there I am in a child's pose, but here I have the bolster for support, the blanket for support. In the next picture, legs up the wall. I'm not using any props here, but in this one, I have the blanket and blocks for support. Same as in Shavasana. This one, I'm just totally flat on my back. And in this one, I have some props and even an eye pillow. So for this activity, I'm going to rest in Shavasana, but you're welcome to choose any of these restorative yoga poses using materials that you have, whether it be some blankets, some blocks, some bolsters, and a bolster is a pillow. So maybe you find a bunch of pillows, whatever feels good for you, because with restorative yoga, you want to make yourself comfortable. So you may choose whichever pose you would like to do. And before I start the guided meditation, I'm going to put on the material. So we're just going to close out of that. And first, because I'm going to start from my feet, because once I put the hand ones on, it's hard to move everything. So with the feet mask, I'm going to open it up just like this. So it comes in the package looking like plastic socks or plastic boots. So here is one, and then there are two for 2 feet. And then you would just gently rip it apart. Okay, so these are going to be our plastic socks. My setup here is there is a bolster here. So my feet will rest on the bolster, and bolsters come in different shapes and sizes, but I'm using this bolster for my feet. I also have the blankets for support for underneath me. I have a block for each arm to rest on, kind of like a lounge chair. And then I have another bolster here, a little bigger. We can compare and contrast the different shapes and sizes of our bolsters. And then I'm also going to have a block for a pillow for my head. So that is my setup. You're welcome to create a similar setup, or perhaps you create your own. So reading the directions here, it says wash and dry feet thoroughly. So remember, I washed them off with the cucumber wipes. And then we are going to bring our feet inside the feet mask, and it says leave on for 20 to 30 minutes. So it's a 30-minute meditation. So this will make the experience a little bit more calming when you have something to listen to. So these open up, just again, they're plastic socks, just like this. And then I'm going to put one foot in at a time. And again, it's a sensory experience because there's lotion inside the sock. So I'm just massaging my feet like that so that all of my feet get the oils, the sea salt that is in that. So that is 1 foot. And then my other foot. And you want to be in a space where you're not going to walk around, because you don't want to slip and slide with these plastic socks. So be super careful. I recommend you stay in a seated position or you lay down, not somewhere where you're going to start to walk around your house or whatever location you're watching this video from, whether you're in school. So again, sometimes it's a little tricky to open, but patience and focus. So again, it opens up. You place your foot in the plastic sock, and then again, I'm massaging the oils around. And just to stand up to show you, here's what the socks look like, kind of like plastic boots. So that's why I have to be so careful to walk on the floor, because I don't want to slip and slide. So remember, safety first with our practice, making sure we're safe for ourselves and safe for the people around us. So that's just to show you. And again, I was just massaging my feet so that the oils would get there. Again, you could do this with a Ziploc bag, usually maybe a freezer Ziploc bag, so it's a little bit bigger. You could put your own oils, your own lotion in, or the sea salt or the coconut sugar, and then you would have your feet rest in that as well. So that is our first mask, is our feet mask. Then the next mask that I'm going to wear is the facial mask, because again, I need my hands to put it on. And once I put on the hand masks, they're just like the plastic ones. It's just hard to navigate. So again, it says to clean the face, which I did before with the wipe. So again, I'm going to open this up. This one I got from Trader Joe's. TJ Maxx and Marshalls, they do sell a variety of these masks, but I just always like the smell of this. And again, this one has cucumber in it. So again, I grow cucumbers in my garden. So it's a natural way to hydrate your skin, good to eat during the summertime. So I am sticking with our cucumber theme. And then I'm going to, again, carefully open up the face mask just like this. Again, practicing mindfulness. And you will see that it's in the shape of a face. There's holes for my nose, my eyes, and my mouth. So we're going to carefully take this off. And it's very wet with all those oils. So as you can see, that's the face mask. And then I'm going to put it on my face and then rub it in so it stays. And as you can see, there's a spot for both my eyes, for my nose, and for my mouth. And then I'm just rubbing it on so it stays on to hydrate and nourish my face. It's hard to smile in it. All right, so we'll do the best I can so you can hear me. So this one is our face. And before I do the hand one, I just want to get the website ready for our guided meditation. So you can see when I share my screen that this is going to be the guided meditation. So it's a bedtime story, Claire's Grandmother Love. It's by Glenda Cedarleaf. And this is on Insight Timer, which the link is in our Google Classroom. And it says, in this bedtime story, we will be exploring the depth of love between a grandmother and granddaughter that fosters the compassionate and creative spirit. Claire spends a weekend away at her grandmother's house, away from the rigidity of everyday responsibilities, where she could be immersed into a magical, loving journey that includes toys, tea parties, dolls, nature, songs, laughter, and more. This choice to be fully present with ourselves, nurturing connection and creativity is the best healing gift we can offer to the places within us that feel vulnerable, abandoned, and lost. It is this journey of integrating the inner child and the wise one that brings deep healing. May this grandmother love encircle you with presence and serve as a Valentine's blessing for you. So they must have created this around Valentine's Day, but again, you can listen to these any time of the year. So we'll be listening to this voice, but I'm just going to put it on the sound share so that you can hear it and you can relax along with me. So I'm going to stop my share there. And then the last step are our moisturizing hand masks. So once again, I'm going to open it up. And here come the plastic gloves. They almost look like Mickey Mouse gloves. They're from Super Mario Brothers, right? So first, I'm just going to use my left hand because it's going to be harder for me to, share the screen with when my hands are covered like this. And this also says to wash and dry hands thoroughly to remove moisture. Insert hands inside mask, leaves on 20 to 30 minutes. So again, our timer is the mask. If you weren't listening to a guided meditation, just set yourself a timer. And remember, Insight Timer is the free app that you could set for yourself the virtual singing bowl. So if you download it to your phone or your tablet, you could create, a timer with the singing bowls for you to relax with. So I'm going to put my left hand in. And again, it's very oily. And I'm just going to, again, massage my hands. So this is going to make my hands feel so soft. So again, I have my feet and my hands. And once I start the sound share, I'm going to put my other glove on and I'm going to relax in Shavasana, the relaxation pose, which means that we are rejuvenating ourselves. We are practicing self-care by taking time to relax our body, relax our mind, not just the inside of ourself, but the outside of ourself. So we are going to share our sound and start our relaxation.
Hi, I'm Glenda Cedarleaf, and I invite you to settle into this bedtime story
Add my other hand.
about the special love and connection between a grandmother and granddaughter,
I have my
and the delight that Claire experienced when she spent the weekend with her grandma. So as you prepare yourself for settling in to listen to this bedtime story, I invite you to notice the ways that you can help yourself become relaxed. Aware of the support of your bed or chair. Noticing your arms and hands as they begin to feel heavy. Focusing now on the breathing. Breathing in nurturing, calming, peaceful energy. Perhaps placing your hand on your belly, feeling the warmth of the touch of your own skin, and noticing the lift and settling of your belly as you breathe in and out. Breathing in the sweet air of this next breath, and then breathing out all that no longer supports you and letting go into sleep. Just feeling your body gently let go into stillness, into this place of timelessness, where you are surrounded by the softness of your sheets and blankets. And the temperature is just right. And here in this loving sanctuary, your body opens to a peaceful wave of calm that moves into the top of your head and flows down, softening into every cell, every organ, every inch of your body. As you begin to feel it taking you into the realm of dreamland. So let's begin the story. It was one of those restless nights when sleep came in brief spurts. In between, Claire was awake. At one point, she went to the kitchen for a large, juicy pear to savor. And then once again, she returned to bed, settling into the silence and the darkness of the night. This was an occurrence that was familiar enough that Claire no longer feared its visit. Instead, she knew that the night held open space for her, where she could enter into dream world. A dream world of her awakened imagination, as she allowed herself to simply be. Often in those quiet times, Claire would reminisce about being a little girl spending the weekend with her grandmother. The memories of those weekends brought her great comfort, giving her that same sense of peace that she experienced with Sage Woman when she was a teenager. Grandma lived in the country, and it took 3 hours to get to her home, so the visits weren't frequent. But when they happened, Claire couldn't get enough of them. On the days leading up to the visit, Claire was filled with a delightful sense of anticipation, recalling past delights of taking walks together in the forest, floating in the pool, listening to music, and venturing into the world of imagination as Grandma transformed the ordinary into the extraordinary. Claire loved how Grandma's mind was full of new ideas and ways of looking at the world. Being a granddaughter meant feeling deliciously visible to someone who had the time and desire to really be present with her. Grandma truly listened. When she was with Claire, it was as if they lived in a reality all their own, where the experience of simply being was comforting to them, where they both savored one another's company. The creative magic just seemed to flow like a fountain between them. The pressure of school and rules and rigidity of life all melted away when Claire was with Grandma. It felt like she could wave a magic wand of creativity, freedom to be as silly and imaginative as she wanted. So on this visit, Claire could hardly wait as they drove up the tree-lined driveway leading to Grandma's house. She could see her standing on the front porch, smiling and waving. As soon as the car stopped, Claire jumped out and ran up to be encircled by that familiar, welcoming hug. As they stepped inside the house, the smell of an apple pie baking in the oven greeted them. Grandma's pies were out of this world, and of all the treats in the world, pie was Claire's favorite, and she couldn't wait to have a slice when it was ready. With a twinkle in her eye, Grandma invited Claire to check out the toy closet. Grandma collected toys to give to a local charity. So on each visit, there was always a new stock of things to play with. As she rummaged around, Claire found a little train set with wooden cars and tracks. She had always wanted a train set. In fact, she would often ask to play with her neighbor Stevie because he had a train set, and it was so big it took up a whole room. They would spend hours loading the train cars with miniature items, stopping and starting the cars, blowing the whistle, and imagining that they were going on voyages to far-off places. So on this weekend with Grandma, Claire got to set up the train on the floor of the living room, and there it stayed for the whole visit, where she could return over and over to continue her imaginary journeys. Walking into Grandma's house was like walking into a wonderland of interesting things to explore. It was the opposite of sparse. It was colorful and a bit chaotic, and oh so creative. Grandma made large dream catchers, and each room had its own hanging from the ceiling. The house was filled with white lights draped around the windows. There were lots of plants and colorful pillows. In the living room stood a white piano, and vases of tropical flowers sat on top. Claire loved to imagine that those flowers came straight from a tropical garden by the sea. Grandma wore the most interesting hats. Claire's favorite was actually what they called a fascinator. It made Grandma look like a butterfly. It had feathers and ribbons, and it stood up high above the crown of her head. Claire liked the name Fascinator because she found Grandma so fascinating. In the dining room were lots of art supplies sitting on shelves behind lace curtains. Claire would pull back the curtains, and there were the beginnings of her next creative journey. Out would come the paints and glitter, beads and feathers, ribbons and yarns. And as the hours unfolded, new creations emerged, while Grandma sat with her, delighting in her creations, and it didn't matter that they weren't perfect or even what they looked like. Claire could just create freely, knowing that by the time the weekend was over, she'd be bringing home a box of treasures that served as reminders of those special weekends. Grandma had a collection of dolls that she made many years ago. Claire's favorite doll was the mermaid. This doll had a shell necklace, long brown hair, brown skin, and a lovely turquoise mermaid tail. Once Claire held that doll, she was transported to another world where she could hear the sound of the ocean, feel the warmth of the sand and the sun as she traveled in her imagination to where the mermaid sisters lived under the waves with the mother of the sea. In the mornings, she and Grandma would stand on the backyard porch, waiting to see the birds flock to the feeder. Grandma would put her arm across Claire's shoulder, and Claire would put her arm around Grandma's waist. They would catch a whiff of the herbs in the flower box beside them, mint and sage and basil and rosemary, while the cardinals and mourning doves, blackbirds and rufous sidey towhees ate their morning breakfast. After they finished watching the birds, Grandma would bring out the bubbles, and together they would blow these giant bubbles that would float across the yard and over to the garden. There the bubbles sometimes landed on the statues of St. Francis or the rabbit. Blowing bubbles with Grandma was magical. Claire loved sitting next to Grandma or being in her lap. Grandma smelled like lavender. She had green eyes and long hair that she wore in a braided bun. Sometimes Grandma told her stories of their ancestors in Sweden. One of those stories was about her great-great-grandma who left Sweden during the potato famine in 1866. At that time, thousands of people left their familiar world, their homeland, because the soil had become so poor it could no longer support the family farmers. First, there had been too much rain, and later came the drought. So her great-great-grandmother came to the United States on a boat by herself when she was just 17. She worked as a maid for a wealthy family in Chicago. Just a few years after her arrival, the Chicago Fire of 1871 happened. It burned for 2 full days. People said the fire started after a cow kicked over a lantern and ignited the barn. During the fire, Claire's great-great-grandmother helped the family with whom she lived and worked by finding and rescuing their box of silver, carrying it with her for safekeeping while the home burned down. When Grandma spoke of the ancestors, it was with a sense of pride. She saw how much they endured to leave their homeland and all that was familiar and come to a new place and start all over again as servants in a large city. As Claire listened to the story, she thought of the things that she took for granted, like having plenty of food and a warm home. She realized that the challenges of being an immigrant were something she couldn't even imagine enduring. Besides telling of the hardships in the lives of Swedish ancestors, Grandma loved to describe the special Lucia ceremony they celebrated in Sweden and in the United States. December 13th was when they honored a saint who brought light into the darkness of the world, especially to the long winters of Sweden. To remember this Santa Lucia, a young woman would dress up in a long white gown and wear a wreath of candles on her head. She would lead a procession through town and serve special breads and sweet rolls to everyone. In the United States, the tradition was carried on as daughters would awake early in the morning, dress up in the white robe and crown, and serve their parents and grandparents and neighbors the treasured breakfast rolls. Grandma had her own Lucia crown, which had been handed down through the family. She let Claire wear it every Christmas. When Claire put that crown on her head, she felt like a fairy tale princess, as the golden light from the candles filled her with a warm glow. She was grateful to learn about the strength of her ancestors through the legacy of the stories that Grandma passed on to her. She liked thinking that the spirit of her ancestors lived in her as well. In the afternoons during her time with Grandma, when the weather was warm, they would take a walk down by the river. There they would listen for the sounds of the peepers and the frogs, the seagulls and the crickets, while they snacked from a basket of strawberries and banana bread and cheese, and watched the ducks and geese go by. On these walks, Claire was especially aware of how precarious Grandma seemed to be, as if her feet were not fully connecting with the ground. Claire held her arm, and even though she was so small, it seemed like the resonance between her and Grandma was so strong, somehow Grandma did not falter, and for this Claire was relieved. Eventually, Grandma got a cane, and on one of their visits, they decorated the cane. Grandma called it bedazzling and was very proud to use it. At some point during their weekends, they would have a tea party. Grandma would put a tablecloth on the kitchen table in the breakfast nook and bring out some special cups. All were pastel colors, and each were unique. The teapot was periwinkle, a gift from Grandma's mother. There was a tiny creamer and sugar on a tray, and a variety of teas to choose from. Claire's favorite tea tasted like lemon pound cake. Grandma served up a platter of cucumber and cream cheese sandwiches, and slices of fresh pineapple, and chewy ginger cookies. While they enjoyed their tea, they sang some favorite songs and told silly jokes. Outside of tea party time, they usually drank from one of the Santa mugs in Grandma's collection. It didn't matter if it was spring, summer, fall, or winter. These were the mugs that everyone enjoyed. Claire could pick a different mug each time she had a drink. There were yellow, blue, green, and red decorated Santas with beautiful white beards and kind eyes. At bedtime, Claire would stay in the extra bedroom. Its walls were turquoise, and on one side was a big window that looked out over the hill and a beautiful view of the sunrise. Another window faced the garden, and in the evening offered a direct view of the sunset. The guest bed had a wooden headboard with lots of embossed carving. It creaked a little, but it was very comfortable. The bed was covered in a handmade quilt made of soft corduroy. It was heavy and calming and plenty warm. Grandma told Claire that she remembered having that quilt on her bed when she was a child. On the wall above the bed was a huge mirror. It was bordered in purple and teal trim, and then gilded with a wide frame of carved leaves painted with a creamy minty color. Claire called it the Alice in Wonderland mirror, and whenever she looked up at it, she thought of that story. Across from the bed was a soft love seat. There, side by side, sat Grandma's doll collection. So as Claire lay in the bed, she could look over and see their faces. On the bookshelf next to the bed were lots of interesting books and photos and memorabilia that Grandma loved to review because they gave her hours of inspiration and reminiscing on rainy afternoons or on days when she felt lonely. Sitting on top of the bed was a very large stuffed bear. Claire felt so safe sleeping by his side. He was soft and cuddly. At bedtime, Grandma told her stories about frogs that flew over the garden carrying little children on their backs, about mountain goats that protected sleeping children at night, and about polar bears that swam in the ocean. The stories went on for a while until Claire's eyes became droopy, and Grandma knew it was time to tuck her into bed. Grandma would place her cheek on Claire's forehead. It was soft and warm and felt like a special kind of bedtime kiss. When Claire slept at Grandma's, it felt like her love was a great big heart floating just above the bed. In a way, the big red heart was like the moon and stars shining in the night sky, but the difference was that this heart was inside, blessing her nighttime rest as it watched over her. For a while, after Claire went to bed, Grandma would sit in the living room, bundled up in a long robe with slipper socks to keep her feet warm, as she sipped on peppermint tea, listening to quiet music until she was ready to go to sleep. And as these memories of being a child visiting Grandma now soothed our present-day Claire, she thought about how Grandma had felt like a mother bear, powerful, protective, nurturing, and loving. Claire felt so safe with Grandma, and it was that feeling of safety that she now tuned into as she began to feel her body sink into the bed once again. The night was turning into early morning, and Claire welcomed this return to dreamland, where the loving memory of Grandma's presence filled her whole being with peace. A sweet vision of Grandma's kind eyes accompanied Claire as she now gradually drifted into a deep and restful sleep. And that's the end of the story. And I wish you good night and sweet dreams.
So I'm going to slowly start to roll my fingers and my toes and gently and easily come up. So that was a guided meditation bedtime story on Insight Timer. And we needed time for the the masks to really nourish and hydrate our skin. So I'm just going to stop the sound of the music. So I'm going to slowly start to take off the mask. So as I slowly take off my hand mask, you can see it's kind of oily, so I can massage those oils and lotions in my hands and then gently peel off my face mask. As you can see, it feels really shiny, still a little slimy, but that's a good thing. And this is what it looks like. And then I'm going to take off my feet. And again, you can massage in the extra oils. As you can see, my feet still have those oils in it. So I also have a towel handy nearby, so I can massage my feet as I take off the foot mask. So again, I got these masks from Trader Joe's and TJ Maxx and Marshall's. So it's a fun way to have your own spa at home for a self-care spa day, because it's important to take care of yourself. So our body and mind are connected. It's important to take good care of our body, good care of our mind, so that we can be the best we can be. So I'd love for you to share how you're creating your own home spas. Feel free to share in our Google Classroom. You can also post on Seesaw what kind of spa activities you have tried at home. Maybe you got to go to a real spa, but again, you can use what you have to take care of yourself. It's important to say no to you and yes to me, to practice self-care, and remembering that self-care isn't selfish. It's important to take care of ourselves so that we can be the best we can be. So I can't wait to see how you create your own home spa. Namaste, Green Leaf.